Okay, so I've just brought my my roof back and changed the graphics there in my 3D view to shaded, but otherwise I'm still there showing the topography that I've modelled, and you can see it's just a solid colour or single surface that's grey. And now I want to break that up to show the different materials that we have on the ground, the road material, footpath, and any other areas like lawn or car parks, and the other things we can see on that locality satellite image especially, so you can see there all the roads and other things. And so for that, the best option usually is to use subregions, not split face. So you find both of these tools on the Massing and Site tab. Just make sure you're clear about the differences. Split face is definitely a good tool and there are really good uses for it, but in this case subregions will be much better. We'll probably have, if we get time, I'll have a look at split surface. So I just say split face, so split surface. If we get to do the river, that's probably the only time you might need to use it in this situation, but otherwise subregions are better. And the reason is that subregions don't actually break the surface apart. They just let you apply different materials to different areas. Split surface will break your topography up into different surfaces, which can be adjusted independently. And that's overkill in this case. So, and also it's very hard to go back from that. So again, normally it's best if you can use subregion to go with that option. So here, I don't need anything selected. I'm just going to click on that subregion tool under Massing and Site, and I'll start by drawing in the roads. So using just the line tool there, I'm just going to trace by eye. Now it's a bit hard to see the road clearly in this view, and I know I've got a higher resolution version in the other view. The site analysis view that I've set up has the higher res version. So with that open now, I can use the line tool again to draw along the edge of the road. So this is in that area with the parking bays, and where possible I'm going to make these straight vertical lines even if it doesn't follow the image exactly.
Using the subregion?
Yep.
And then, how come I can't see it? The topography map is making it...
Oh, just make it wireframe.
Oh.
Yeah, if you can't see your things, yep, just making it wireframe should make it all see through. So then now again tracing with lines, you can see here we've got obviously something that's curving, so I can change to the arc tool midstream and just trace that again by eye. You don't need to be too precise here, you're not rebuilding these things. Just to give a general indication, so don't spend too long on it. It doesn't need to be an exact copy, you're not recreating the world, which is what some people try to do. And then coming along again here, just trying to get that car park area as part of my road. It'll all have the same material, so that's totally fine. And so again here, just coming back to the edge. And then the road continues along here and goes to the edge of the image. So I'm just going to take it to the end of the street there and then come back and finish it, because this needs to be a closed shape. So you can't leave open. Well, so you can take it to the edge, but we don't want to go that far. So I'm just going to make it closed off there. I can extend it later if I need to. And then again here, even though it doesn't follow the image exactly, I'm just going to draw straight lines where possible. And, well, there, I suppose I will put some arcs in to try and make it look like the real curb. But again, not being too fussy. So I might just draw up to here, again with an arc, some more straight lines, but again going about to the edge of that image should be enough, and then back across to finish the street off there.
Behind the building.
Yeah.
Or is that further?
Oh yeah, I'll come back to that later. So I'm just trying to get those main roads in, and I'm not even going to go too far to the left here. I might extend it later, but just to get this finished, I'll come down, and you've got to use your judgment when you're tracing satellite images, because they are still in perspective, and you can see there that the building is overshadowing and actually goes over the road, because the perspective makes it have an angle. But of course, in reality, it wouldn't be overhanging the road. Most likely it's set back, but it's just the way that the satellite, or the angle the satellite was taking the photo from.
What about not the self-select image, but the other one, the
Oh, the map.
map?
Well, it's not going to be as useful for drawing things like roads, because the road drawing in a map is diagrammatic. It's not really showing the way it looks, and it's better to draw it the way it really is, especially when it's close to your building, because that can affect your design, and also gives a much better impression of what facilities and amenities you have. If you can see the car parking clearly and the other things, pedestrian access, all those things, just get a bit more detail than you will on a street map. So it's better usually to trace the satellite.
It's not the replication of the
No, street maps, and many maps actually, but especially street maps, they are really diagrams more than anything. Yeah. So you can see here I'm doing this very roughly, and I'll just take it down to the bottom of the car park here. Again, if it doesn't follow exactly, as long as it gives a good impression, that is more than enough. So I'll probably just do down to the end of this roundabout. In fact, yeah, so I'll just come across a little bit more maybe. Again, you don't want to do too much work here. It's probably not going to be seen in all of your views. In fact, some parts that I've drawn here may not be shown at all. So definitely don't waste too much time on it. And the further you get from the building, the less accurate you have to be. So something interesting there. The cars seem to be going up onto the footpath, but I'd say that is just that the road there looks a bit unusual from the satellite's point of view, but in reality probably it is all at the same level as the road. Again, use your judgment there, it doesn't need to be perfect. And again, you can always come back and adjust it. So the point here is getting to a point where you can finish. So here you can see finally back to the beginning, and then because that's a closed shape, I can finish it. If it isn't closed, it won't let me finish. So that's the important thing, that you can finish it and move on. So now you can see that my topo surface has this area that's separate that I can select, and I can give a different material. So that's fairly simple. Once you've finished your sub-region, you can easily select it, and then easily in properties, find the material property, and then you can change that to, well, in this case, a road material. So I'm just going to click browse there, and I've got an asphalt bitumen material already, so you will probably have that as well. So I don't even need to make a material there, it's done, and there we are. So you can see it's a different colour to the rest of that ground surface. Because this is a rural area, it might be a good idea to make that main ground surface lawn or grass. So I can select that outer edge now to select that original topo surface, and then again find the material property in properties, and I can change that to a grass or lawn material. So I'm just going to quickly go over here how you can make materials. Hopefully it's something you're pretty familiar with, but I'll just do it again quickly. So with the material I already have, Site Hardcore, I will right click, duplicate, and we'll call this Site Grass, will do. Then I'll go to Appearance, right click and Replace. And then in the Appearance library, I will find the Site Work folder, and then just choose any of the grass materials. Really, doesn't matter. Grass stick I might use. And there we are. So, clicking OK. Now, actually you can see that it's gone red because I missed an option in my material settings. That's okay. I'll go back to Manage and then go to Materials that way. And there's my site grass material. I'm just going to use Render Appearance for the colour under Graphics, and now you can see it's green, so that's good. And then you can continue breaking up that material, or breaking up that topography. So, yeah, so this car park area, it's really, even though it's got a different material, it is really just an extension of that road that comes in from behind.
It's just the parking of that mall or that...
Oh yeah, sure, but there is actually a laneway there, so that comes around to there. That's all a public road, so that should be shown as well. Even though it's not clear, that definitely is a public road. So
it's a lane.
Yeah. So that needs to be shown, and so rather than doing a new topo surface, a new sub-region, I can simply select the one that I've already made, edit boundary, and then I can just keep adding to that. So I want to show you one little thing though. I'm going to do a roundabout here. So I want to have a separate region there. So I'm going to draw a circle there in the middle. And then you can see after I finish it, now that is the grass material. So if I go to the 3D view, that should be a bit clearer. So that's if you want it to be taken out of the sub-region. But another option, so I'll go back and delete that circle and finish it. And then show you, if I try to put in a new sub-region, so back to Massing and Site, and I'll go to sub-region. So I'll draw a circle, just like I did before. Finish it, and then back in the 3D view, you can see that is a region within a region. So that's another option. So I can select it separately, there it is, and I can give it a new material. So that can be good to know. But otherwise, you can break up your surfaces with that sub-region option fairly freely, and And don't worry if you want to go back and make changes to the original typo surface, because it is still all one surface. It hasn't actually split it apart into separate surfaces. So if I, for example, decide at some point that this is all wrong, I can delete that subregion and it just goes back to being the original surface. But I'll undo that because I do want to keep it. Then another option might be that you want to change the heights. So if you want to change the levels, as we were before, I'll go back to the site view so that we can see that. I'll select not the subregion, but the main topo surface. Go to Edit Surface just like before. And I can either adjust these points or add more, even if they're over the road or the other subregions that I've added. And it again still treats it all as though it's one surface. So for example, here you can see these points here that are going over my road make it look a bit messy. But I can, you can see there, move those points. So I'm just going to drag these over so it looks neater more than anything else. So that's better. And coming down here, I can do the same thing. You can just tidy it up a bit. So you're almost getting here into the art of map making, which is another, well, used to be a really important skill for drawing. Maybe these days not as important because people do it mostly with computers, but still can be a good thing to know. And then again, I can add more points just as before. And so here that was my 0. So I'll make that point 0 and put in some more points just so you can see. No problem if I want to add in points, whether they cross over my subregion or not. It'll be fine. So there we are. So before long, you can build up a road pattern that you can then see in 3D views like this, and then also in your plan views. So that site analysis view that I had earlier, that's obviously showing the image. But now I'll duplicate that with detailing, and I'll call that site analysis image, because it's got the satellite image. I'll go back to the original site analysis view and I'll delete those images. So I'll just have to unpin them first. I can delete those. And I might change it back to shaded graphics and tidy the view up a little bit. So I'll hide the things like reference planes, this survey mark, we don't need that. The other one, the survey point, again, hide that. And the elevation views, probably again, just hide that category. Even the section line, probably isn't needed in the site analysis drawing. So that's going to give you the basic setup that you might want for your site analysis. But then things like buildings, nearby buildings, probably need to be modelled. So I'll just give you some basic pointers on that. So back to the one now that I've just made with the image, I can see the nearby buildings. So we've got levels that we've made for the library building that we can probably use for these buildings as well. So remember, if you're drawing in a site view, you're most likely drawing on the ground floor level. That's exactly what I want. To do block forms, and this will tie in with what we've got to do with massing in a little while, I'm going to use model in place. Now you might be tempted to use walls, and that can work well in some cases, but here I'm assuming you probably don't want to see the things like the wall thicknesses and detail like that. It's too much. We want to just have simpler block forms, maybe like those ground figure drawings I was showing you before. So using model in place, I'm just going to choose generic models as the category, and I'll call it neighbouring buildings.
So it's exactly the same as we do with Mary Street.
Very similar. Exactly, yeah. And so you can see over here, also once I go to extrusion, that the work plane is ground floor. So it's going to start at the same height as the library building. The height I've got to type in, so the extrusion end here, I'll make it, at a guess it'll be about 10 metres. And then just draw very roughly the footprint, say, of this building here. Again, don't be too fussy, it doesn't need to be perfect. So what I'm trying to draw there is the outline of the walls following the roof. So that's basically the roof plan there. I'll finish that. And then I might go to the south elevation just so you can see that the height there is a bit lower than my roof. So I'm going to see what the roof level is there, 9650. So let's use that. So I'll change my extrusion height to 9650. So in the 3D view there, you can see I've got a new extrusion, but it's the same height as the other building. That could be enough if you don't need the roof forms. So again, that could be enough for you. Maybe try and make it a simpler material, a plain white material. So here I'll just use the good old finish material for that. Right, so finish is a material you should all have, which is usually set to be white, so that's an easy one to use. So then with the roof, you can see you can't make roofs as part of a model in place family. So instead I'll finish the model, go to my, I don't have a roof floor plan, but we know that I've got a roof level. So do you remember how to make a floor plan for a level when you don't have it? When you don't have a floor plan? Well, I've got the level, so I'll just show you what I mean. So in the south elevation, if you didn't see, I've got this roof level. But if you look in my project browser, you can see I don't have a floor plan to go with that level. And that's a common thing that you'll come across in Revit. You'll have levels without an associated plan.
What if you've made a level for it?
Yeah, so you won't always get a plan. There are different ways of making levels, and in some cases you won't get a plan. But that's okay, it's easy to make the plan afterwards. If you go to the View tab, then under Plan Views, Floor Plan, and then choose the level that you want. Okay, so now I've got a new roof floor plan. I can't see the building I've just made because it's too low. So in my view properties, I'll go down to adjust the view range there, and I'll simply change the view depth to level below. That should be enough. So there we are, now I can see that building. And so then I'm just going to use the roof tool. And I will maybe just assume eaves of, let's say, I'm just going to do 200. It probably is more than that, but this is just a simplified drawing. And then with pick lines, sorry, I can't use eaves, sorry, pick lines and then offset 200, not eaves. And then I'll simply use tab to pick all of those lines from my extrusion, leaving the slope on, tick to finish, and that should be a pretty good roof plan. It just doesn't look like it in this view because it's at that roof level, but if I go back to my site analysis view now, you can see perfect roof plan. So comparing that to the one with the image, you can see it follows it pretty well. Good enough. So then with some better graphics. Maybe shaded will be okay, and then if I turn the shadows on, do a lot more obviously, but that's a good starting point for your site analysis drawings. So final thing I'll just show you there, sometimes it's good at this point if the graphics aren't right, it can be distracting, so going to graphic display options, there are lots of simple things you can do there, like adjusting the lighting, so that'll make it brighter. Ambient light definitely brighten the whole thing up, and maybe the shadows can be toned down as well.
How did you get that link?
Oh, so if you just go to the graphics button and then graphic display options, and then down here in lighting, got those options there. So that'll probably be enough if you can adjust the graphics that way in Revit. Before long you probably want to crop this view, so just by turning the crop region on, then you can adjust that border, and so you can see then why I haven't bothered going over all of the rows, because a lot of that will most likely be cropped out in my site analysis drawing in the end. So there we are, maybe something like that will be the area that will show. So now I can see, well, maybe I've got to extend this sub-region, so I can go back and edit the boundary now, and then in my other view keep drawing away. Where's my image gone? Oh, so this is my, I've gone to the, oh no, that's right, that's the right one. So I'll just change this back to wireframe, there we are. And yeah, well, so that one's easy, it's pretty much the same width, so I can just extend that. And have I gone far enough? Yeah, I did do the graphics in the wrong view, so I'll do that again. Just in that view, that's right. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So that means that doesn't interfere with when you do the perspective or anything like that?
No. You've got the same options. You can do that to a perspective view, but no, if you
I
do it, yeah, yeah.
But I didn't know about this one.
Oh right, yeah, sure, yeah. So there we are. So then you can just keep adding more buildings like that. I don't know if you even need to have the roof forms showing, but it can be a nice thing to have in your site analysis drawings. Gives a good idea of the type of buildings they are as well. And then for the other things that you need for your site analysis, so things like sun paths, wind, traffic analysis. Like I was saying before, you can do those things in Revit using all the different drawing tools, but you might find it's easier and that it looks better as well in a graphics program like Photoshop. So go as far as you need to in Revit, then just print it out to a PDF, open in Photoshop, and then keep going there. So yeah, I'll give you some time to work on that. I don't think you're going to have time to get on to area plans and massing, so I'll have to do that next week, but we have to get that done soon. So I'll just point out where these things live, because if you don't know these tools, they're probably new to you. Area plans, if you don't know that tool, it's on the architecture tab. You've got area plans there. So that's a really useful tool in Revit, really underused by a lot of people too. And then massing lives somewhere else completely. It's on the massing and site tab, and you've got all the massing tools there. So that's another tool in Revit that is probably underused as well. And so they're the tools. Yes, we'll do it in place probably, but you can do massing either as a loadable family or as an in-place family, just like any other family. Oh, I didn't use massing for that. I just used model in place. So, yep. Yep. Once you choose under component, choose model in place. And then I made the category generic models. Yep. And then just made extrusions as you would in many cases. Yep.